Hello and welcome. My name is Melinda Hart. You are watching Stamping with Hart. You can find me on my blog at stampingwithhart.blogspot.com. If this is your first time here, welcome. Be sure to hit the subscribe button if you like seeing crafty video tutorials. Today's project is going to be with the Driving By stamp set. We'll also be using watercolor paper, and that watercolor paper I just showed, the Fluid 100, is available in the Stampin' Up catalog. This is the cars guide that I used to determine the colors for today's card projects. They have really cute books where they tell you the name of the model and the colors and the character names, and my son just absolutely loves the movies. He has all of the toys, all of the books, so this one was an easy project for me and a fun one too. Now, I'm using a different watercolor paper, and I just wanted to mention that right out of the gate because the larger paper is not something that Stampin' Up sells. I'm sure you can find it in any big box or craft store, or you can use the shimmery white paper, which is 8.5 by 11 that Stampin' Up does sell. That is also, I believe, really good for watercoloring, and from what I understand, adds a nice shimmer. But this 9 by 12 paper was not Stampin' Up, which is very unusual for me to use something like that, but I had a specific idea in mind of what I wanted to do. I'd been doing a lot of coloring with Stampin' Blends, so I decided to change it up, and in this video we're going to be doing some watercoloring technique with our water papers, our water painters rather, and then also the Stays On ink. So Stays On ink, this is the black ink, is safe for watercoloring, which means we can get it as wet as we want and it's not going to blur or smear or anything like that, which is really nice if you want to do that. If you're interested in the water painters that Stampin' Up sells, they come in a set of 3. You get a very tiny detail brush, you get like a middle-sized brush, and then a large brush to cover large surfaces. So here we have the background pattern, okay? And that's just all 3 cars stamped in repeat all the way down the bottom of the paper. And now we're going to get into coloring. So Rusty was my inspiration here, and Rusty is very similar to Mint Macaron. So I chose Mint Macaron as his color. And you'll see that, the cars are right off there to the side. And I chose yellow for the bug or the Volkswagen type vehicle. And then for the sporty car, I chose red, similar to Lightning McQueen. Even though he's not exact, it's similar enough. Now, if you want to skip ahead to the card assembly, if you don't want to see all of the coloring, you can probably skip to about the 10-minute mark of this video. If you do want to see this process of coloring, then just stick right along with me. Now, this color here is Daffodil Delight, and as you can see, just between the 3 cars that I've colored, the amount of water and the amount of ink that you have determines its color and if it's light or if it's very concentrated. So you just want to keep that in mind. Don't be afraid to play around with your color. I wanted a bright, bold car, basically, just a nice, bright yellow car. One of the things I think that really appeals to children, I know it appeals to my son, are those bold primary colors. And I thought it would be so fun to do something in a red, yellow, and green theme because, number one, street lights here in the US are green, yellow, and red. And the characters in the movies, as you can see, have these just really bold, bright colors. So I wanted that same look when it came to all of the cards that we're going to be making today based on this layout. So this is Poppy Parade for the sports card that we are using. So far we've used Mint Macaron, Daffodil Delight, and Poppy Parade. And the other 2 colors that basically, we'll be using as our color theme for this set of cards are black and white. And you'll be seeing that a little bit later in the video. But basically, whenever you're doing watercoloring, I like to do these things in layers and give them a second to dry before I get into the next color. Now, even though I had 3 different water painter brush sizes, I stuck with the middle size, which is my preferred brush size for every bit of coloring for this background paper. I probably could have easily switched for like the tires and the hubcaps to the more detailed tip, but I just, I was just getting going with this brush, so I just kept cleaning it off and then using the other colors with it. It was just easy for me. So the windows are going to be balmy blue. So I just had a nice saturated color there and just went and used it on every single car window. You'll notice that with the sports car, if I got too close to the red, it started mixing purple. So just be careful whenever you're doing that. You might even want to color that first. So you really should give it time to try, or hit it with the heat tool before you start adding in those extra layers. That is something that I am very bad at doing. I just get very impatient and I just want to do everything all at once, right? But with watercoloring, especially if you're doing multiple colors on the same, subject, you really want to let that dry. So let the windows dry, let the hubcaps dry, let the tires dry. And, I just rotated the paper throughout this process, but you really do get such an incredible result at the end once you're done with all of your coloring. Now, this might not be something that you do all the time, but it is so fun to make backgrounds with your different, stamp sets and your different options. And if you want to make a bunch of cards at once, I would say that the idea with this is that it was as close as I've ever come to making a one sheet wonder type project. Now, the one sheet wonder is very specific, and it's not so much about that. But what I did do was, after I was done with this, excuse me, after I was done making the background paper and it was dry, I cut this up into pieces for several different cards. So if you want the same background theme for multiple cards, you can consider doing this for that. So it was a lot of fun to play with this. Now, for the hubcaps and for the fenders and all of that, I used gray granite. And then we're going to go back in after I'm done with all of the detail pieces for the inner part of the tires. And we're going to use Memento Tuxedo Black ink to create all of our tires. And I did try to stick to one color for every part of the car. So instead of me doing gray granite on some and smoky slate on some, I just went with the same color on every vehicle, just to make it a little bit easier, because there was so much involved in all of this coloring. I didn't count how many cars there are on this sheet, but it was a lot of fun to do. So you guys can let me know in the comments how you feel about this. But when you're not feeling well, let me know what you like to do in the comments. I asked that on my Facebook Live, and some people said, they like to just chill out and watch, TV shows and just rest. Some people like to, craft and color. For me, doing this coloring when I wasn't feeling well felt so good. I sometimes, when I am down and out, like, I really don't want to have to do a ton of thinking. Like, one of my favorite things about coloring is it just really quiets my mind. I don't know if it's that way for everybody, but it's definitely that way for me. It's such a soothing process, and I really, really enjoyed it. I'll have to do some more projects like this. And even the Facebook Live that I ended up doing after I filmed this video was also coloring, because I'm just kind of still in that mode. I think that that's just something I gravitate towards when I'm healing and trying to feel a little bit better. So here you'll see me working through all of the tires. And whenever you get to a very concentrated color like black, you have to be a lot more careful. You want to be, more specific with your strokes and everything. And watercolor is somewhat forgiving, but when you're using a color like this, it's not that hard to screw it up, right? Just be careful as you're going around. Take your time. It's okay to do it in layers, which is basically what I did. And now we're going to start getting into the actual cutting and card making process. So if I haven't already said, the Driving By stamp set is a celebration stamp set. Celebration is still going on through the end of February 2022. Stampin' Up! Does a promotion where during certain times of the year, you can actually earn free product when you spend $50 or more before tax. So the driving by stamp set isn't something that you buy, it's something that you can earn for free when you spend $50 in the online store. And I'll have all of my shop links in the description of this video below if you are interested in shopping with me. I would love the opportunity to work with you if you don't already have a demonstrator, so you can reach out to me anytime. But now I am taking the stitched rectangle dies, or I think it's the rectangle stitch dies, and I am now just cutting this paper up into pieces. And that's because we're going to use this as background paper and layering pieces on card projects. And I stuck with the same color theme for my card bases. So you're going to see Daffodil Delight, Poppy Parade, and Mint Macaron. I think I also did a basic white card base. And then here you'll just see I'm going to start the decorating process, or this is what I call the design process, where I'm just kind of working through my layout and what I want to use, what I like, what I don't like, and all of that lovely stuff. Now, I did decide to bring in elements from another stamp set and die set. Okay, so the Your Biggest Fan stamp set, and then I think it's called Sports Fan Dies. Let me see. The Sports Event Dies. I used those, and I also used the Resin Star embellishments, which we'll be getting to a little bit later. You're seeing some of those dies now. And this black and white checker paper that you're seeing here, or this gingham sort of pattern in the black and white, is from one of our Hostess items in the annual catalog, this fabulous party pack. And the reason that I chose that is because that is a popular pattern with race car driving and flags and banners and things like that. So I wanted to kind of keep that same look, you know. So this is the Biggest Fan stamp set, Your Biggest Fan. You can kind of see it here. It's a photopolymer stamp set. Absolutely adorable. And as you will see, as I put these cards together, it goes so well together. That is the bundle that's available in our mini catalog if you're interested. These are glue dots. So I'll show you guys how I made these banners, these banner flags in just a minute. But I am just kind of getting my layout here and trying to figure out what I want to do. And you guys can let me know what your design process is. Do you keep it really simple, or do you spend some time kind of putting it together? For me, it's kind of like piecing together a puzzle. And it really pretty much starts for me with the colors. Once I kind of know my colors and my theme, I'm usually telling a story, or I'm usually inspired by something with my projects. I start to get an idea in my head of how that looks and then expand on that. And that's why I usually have to make more than one card per project, because I just like to try out different themes and different layouts if I'm working with the same set. And you guys can let me know if you feel the same way. So this is basic black that I'm adding in here. And then this splatter pattern is from the Your Biggest Fan stamp set. It kind of reminded me of like a little splatter of mud or oil, you know, something that you get with grit, with cars, you know. Definitely, I thought it was such a fun element. And it's so nice when you're doing a background pattern and you cut it up into pieces and you can kind of vary the way that they look from card to card. I decided to add a little bit of the black and white gingham ribbon there, just for that little pop of element there. And then this is, it looks like a ticket. It's a die cut ticket that is from the sports event dies. So cute. And then the happy birthday was also from the Your Biggest Fan stamp set. This Star Trio stamp is also from Your Biggest Fan. This is the Poppy Parade ink that I'm working with here. I love doing frames around my cards. That is a frequent design element of mine. I just like the way that it looks. And I'm just working through my layout one more time. Okay, so the ribbon that I'm about to bring in is from the Playful Pets Trim Combo Pack. This is a pack of red ribbon, really thin with white stitching, and it also has a black and white twine. And you'll see it's kind of off to the side there, but I ended up going with the red and white stitched ribbon for this particular card, but you can find that in the annual catalog. That's item number 152466. 2 spools that you get there, and that's actually real red ribbon, but I thought it went really well with Poppy Parade. So now I am adding those stars. So let me see what they are called just one more time. They are the Resin Stars, and they come in like yellow, red, navy, and green. So really, really super cute. Now, this is an example of something that didn't quite work. So those are the presents that were originally on the top of the little bug car, and I didn't like the way they looked. So I flipped the card over and I did the balloons on either side instead. And once I kind of put that off to the side and could see those balloons, I really liked that layout. So that was the layout that I ended up going with. So sometimes you might have to get that right. Now that's a sample card. So it doesn't matter that I have the other stamps on the other side of the card. But of course, if I was sending that to somebody, then I, of course, would do a different card base. So now I'm just assembling these elements. The sports event dies have that number 1 in the circle. They also have that border of, it looks like tickets, and it has stitching and everything. So cute. This is actually Poppy Parade Light Stampin' Blend, and it just makes those balloons stand out a little bit more, tone on tone look, right? And then I'm adding in those gold resin stars. So nice. And now this is the Mint Macaron card base. This stamp with the lines is also from Your Biggest Fan. And then here I'm coming back to those banners. So here's how you make them. I'm just kind of getting my positioning. But as I was putting the positioning together, I realized I had done this off camera. So I am cutting this to 1 inch by 4 inches, scoring it at 2, folding it in half, putting it in my banner punch, punching both ends at once, and then pulling that out. Okay, and then you just do that times 4. So 1 inch by 4 inches, score it at 2 inches, fold it, pop it into your banner punch, and that way you have both sides are going to be punched at exactly the same spot, and you don't have to worry about it being off base, right? So once I found my positioning for those, I added my Stampin' Dimensionals and just kind of got my layout the way that I wanted it to. And I'll trim off the excess of the twine, the white twine there. And now I'm just adding my vehicles that I fussy cut. And we are using Driving By to Say Hi, which is actually a sentiment from the Driving By stamp set. And I think that that came together really well. I decided to add a red star to the center square, that center black square on each flag. I thought that was really cute. So they all kind of have that sporty element of the black and white checker with the stars. And, you know, even though we have 4 different card layouts here, and between the two stamp sets, we have some really fun, bold, sporty themes between saying hi, happy birthday. It's really cute. So I hope you enjoyed this project. Stay tuned for the next video.